This week on the Pro Wrestling Podcast. Cody Rhodes talks about The Rock's big return to the WWE and if The Rock is going to be taking his spot at WrestleMania. Logan Paul talks about saving Rey Mysterio's life and has some controversial fun with the United States title. MJF has some choice words for Hulk Hogan while he's getting his neck cracked. And Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson on the Joe Rogan Experience. I'm your host, Seth Grimes, and this is the Pro Wrestling Podcast. What the fuck is up, everybody? Welcome. Come on into a whole nother episode of the Pro Wrestling Podcast. I am your boy, Seth Grimes. Episode 94. We made it. It should be called episode 94.5 because this is the second time that I am recording this. Because the first time that I recorded it, it sounded like this. I'm your host, Seth Grimes, and this is the Pro Wrestling Podcast. Perks of technology, folks. The things that you don't see on the back end, and especially for a guy like me who doesn't have a whole lot of free time to be doing all this shit to begin with, in between life and work and kids and yada yada, to have to sit and record it twice for just because my computer's being stupid or something. Sigh. There's a setting in the software. Once you update the software, you got to recheck everything. That happened to me another time, too. I recorded a whole episode where the microphone wasn't even on. So I always see me looking over this way because that's my monitor. So I'm always checking the levels, son. But the newest update brought with it another share of problems. But that's okay because we're here now. This has been kid tested, mother approved. So we should be good to go. And if it's not, then you're listening to it like trash because I'm not doing it a third time. But with all that said, let's go ahead and just jump on into our first topic. But before we do, if I could bug you to please hit that subscribe button down below. We are on course to getting that 1,000 subscribers that I need to get monetized. That's really all it is. That's all it's about. It's all about the money, the cash, the bills, y'all. Of course, I won't be making anything quite yet, but the first step to get to monetization and being a full-time YouTuber for you guys is to hit that 1,000. So if you haven't and you're listening, hit that subscribe. That's my huge plug. On with the show. Finally, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson makes his appearance on the Joe Rogan Experience podcast. 3 hours of man meat, just sitting down, talking fights and man stuff. That's all they did. There's barely any wrestling content in this whole entire conversation. It was all, dude, that fight where this guy, his punching power, unbelievable, bro. That. And like a little bit of Palestine, Israel. You know, everybody's got to get their 2 cents in on that. And let's back up off of that one. But it was in this particular clip right here where they did get into a little bit of the business. And The Rock talked with Joe Rogan about the time that Vince McMahon was about to kick him to the curb. Where The Rock had one last chance to make his impact in the business, to impress Vince McMahon, to show Vince McMahon that he can be a player for the WWE. Oh, how funny that is looking back now. It's like, Of course, no brainer. Check out this clip.
Things are ascending. The dream is coming true. Like, this is it, man. I finally feel like this is what I was born to do. So I wound up becoming the youngest Intercontinental Champion. So at that time, this interesting thing was happening in the world of pro wrestling where it was fans were cheering the heels and anti-authority. Fuck the boss. Then you have this kid who's 25 who's coming out. Here we go. You know, the fucking old school. And Vince and the company always told me, hey, you can't smile enough. I was like, what do you mean? You go out, you smile. I want to make sure everybody knows you're grateful. Gratitude of attitude. And I said, no, okay. And it started not to feel good to me because I said, well, so, you know, these nights I'm getting beat. But I still want you to smile anyway. And then fans started to turn. Booing every night. Every night they were chanting Rocky sucks.
Whoa.
And I had to smile through it. Ooh. The bosses were telling me, no, you got to smile. No, keep smiling. Ignore it. Ignore it. Just ignore it. So I was smiling away. I get to WrestleMania, Chicago. 20,000 people start chanting Rocky sucks. So imagine that. You're a kid, 25 years old. You got the belt on you, pressure. You're in there. And the guy who I was wrestling, the Sultan, who was actually my cousin, Rikishi, from my Samoan side, he had me in a rear chin lock. Whole arena's chanting Rocky sucks. He's whispering to me, don't listen to him. Don't listen to him. Now I'm like, fuck, this is my life now.
Right.
We get out of the match. I go backstage. Vince looks at me and Pat and just says, I don't know what we did wrong, but we have to make a change. I know what that means. 2 days later, I drop the belt to somebody else. Now I'm getting beat every night. And then I get hurt. I tear my PCL, wrestling a guy named Mick Foley. Now by this time it's May. Vince says, take time off, heal your knee. I don't know what we did wrong or where we went wrong, but we got to really figure things out with you. I don't know if this is going to work out.
Oof.
I get a call from Vince, and he says, how's your knee? I said, it's healing up. He goes, I want to try and bring you back one time, see how it works out. I want to turn you heel. And we have a faction called the Nation of Domination, the Black Militant Group. He goes, I want to have you join them, and we'll see how it works out. When I get to the arena that night, I'm going to join the Nation. I went to Vince. Hey, tonight when I go out there, could I just have 2 minutes on the microphone? And he's like, I don't know. He goes, it's live. You know, all our time's accounted for, allocated. I said, I just need 2 minutes. He goes, why? I said, I just want to be real and just tell the fans how I feel. And I feel like I need to recalibrate things here. He said, fine. A minute you got. Great. Get on the microphone. Now I'm walking out. They're booing me. Rocky sucks. But now I'm a heel with this heel group. I grab the microphone and I say something like, listen, I'm a lot of things, but sucks isn't one of them. And joining the Nation isn't a white thing. It's not a black thing. It's a me kicking your ass thing. And I'm going to earn this respect one way or the other. Dude, that was the most freeing thing for me in my career. It was like, you know how you have these defining moments? Mm-hmm. Even in that one little moment, I was just fucking ripping all this open. Saying, here I am. Now you can fucking boo me, but now watch how I respond. I'm going to be real.
Now you don't have to smile anymore.
I don't fuck the smiling. I'll smile when I want to smile.
Right.
But now watch how I can respond. Watch my words now. Watch my actions. Dude, the fans felt something that night. Within a month, I became the hottest heel in WWE.
Wow.
So we were really that close to just never having The Rock in WWE, or at least not having the career that he would end up going on to do. He also talked with Joe, saying that at one point he wanted to be a country music singer. So maybe we would have had Dwayne The Rock Johnson singing at the Grand Ole Opry or some shit like that. He also mentioned that he wanted to possibly be a boxer or an MMA fighter, which kind of caught me off guard. Of course, Joe dug into that, you know. Ooh, MMA, yeah. Makes his dick all hard and he fucking goes off like a little kid. But yeah, Dwayne said he was actually talking with Ken Shamrock before his big heel turn and was talking with Ken about how he liked his odds to stepping on over into this whole new MMA thing going on over there. Shamrock said, you should probably stick with this here, kid. You got something here. Thank the fuck God he did. And thank the fuck God The Rock turned heel. And this is something, I had said this in, I recorded like a short thing or whatever about the Marvels movie flop. And how I said that if we've learned anything from pro wrestling, it's that, it might have been in a comment on a YouTube channel. That could have been it. It doesn't fucking matter. So if we've learned anything from the world of pro wrestling, what Brie Larson, Captain Marvel, needs right now is a heel turn. Because it ain't working as a babyface. So what we've learned in the world of pro wrestling is if you are not working as a babyface and you want to get over, you must first get over as a heel. And again, we learned this through Roman Reigns. Vince fought the tide the whole entire time. That's all he was doing was fucking fighting against it. No, Roman's my blue-eyed baby face, right? But the fans just kept rejecting it. And that's what happened to The Rock years earlier. His cousin, The Rock. 20 years earlier, 15 years earlier, whatever the fuck it was. Same thing. The fans rejected The Rock. I lived through that era. Nobody liked The Rock when he was Rocky Maivia. And it was for the exact reason, or one of at least, that Vince kept telling him, oh, you just smile. Whatever you do, smile. Because they know you're, a third generation, and they want to know that you respect it, that you're happy to be here, damn it. But he just, the poofy hair and the streamy things, and then just, I'm just a smiling baby face, just happy to be here. My daddy was a wrestler, now I'm a wrestler. Put him up. He could have went the way of like an Eric Watts or a David Flair or something like that. He was that close. Isn't that insane? The Rock, of all people. Same with Stone Cold Steve Austin. The Ringmaster was a dead-end gimmick. It was going nowhere fast. Stone Cold was on his way out the WWE just as fast as he came in. Same with The Rock. But it takes that one thing. And Vince was often stubborn about that. For all of his greatness, one of his main flaws was his stubbornness. God damn it, we're gonna do it my way. And that stubbornness, he would fight the fans on shit. You don't fight the people that are buying your tickets and your pay-per-views and shit. It makes no sense, but Vince McMahon's ego and his fucking, he has to, I know better, god damn it, I am wrestling. They don't know what's good for them. And that's exactly what it was. I mean, keep shoving shit down your throat till you learn, oh, okay, I do like the taste of shit, actually. Yeah. Oh, is there some peanuts in there? Oh, yeah. Some peanut corn. Got a little bit of corn left? You had corn for dinner last night, didn't you? That ain't bad. That was Vince McMahon. That's Vince McMahon for you. He literally was quoted as one of his things. Learn to eat shit and like it. Well, Vince didn't eat too many shit sandwiches once he got to the point where he ain't have to anymore. He got that fuck you money. He got all the power. But he was not, for the genius that he was not perfect. As we've all heard in the fucking, as we all well know from the news lately, Vince is far from perfect. But we were that close to losing The Rock. And who knows where he would have ended up. He was out of football. Maybe he would have tried MMA or something. He probably wouldn't have been a whole lot is what he would have ended up being. Honestly, I think, he was destined for wrestling. He probably would have came back to it after he went off and tried all that other shit. Who knows? But thankfully, The world has a funny way of working itself out. I highly recommend checking out this episode of the Joe Rogan Experience. It's always fun, like when Rogan's talking with people that I know, especially with he's been doing a lot of wrestlers lately. He's got a newfound respect for us, though The Rock is hardly a wrestler. I was talking to somebody yesterday about this, actually, like she was aware that The Rock was a wrestler, but it's like, no, like, I think people don't, and even the new generation, people that didn't live back then, you hear just because, The Rock's a big movie star that, of course he was a big star in wrestling, but no, Rock conquered pro wrestling. He came in and he went from that poofy haired, smiling, just happy to be here. Oh, shucks, guy. So fucking just, main eventing with Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania. World champion. In 2 years, he was the world champion going into WrestleMania 15. Right? He was the champ going into that. Yeah. He won it at that Survivor Series, wasn't it? The Deadly Games. Yeah, that was, it's one of the best turns. The Rock, his wrestling career was legendary. He did it all. He came, he saw, he conquered. Had all the biggest matches, big WrestleMania main events, championships. He did it all, brother. Then he went on and conquered Hollywood and did it all there too. And Zoa energy drinks are pretty goddamn dope too. If you haven't, except they moved it to the smaller cans, and they're not as, though the local stores got 3 for $5 on those. That's actually a pretty good deal. But regardless, doesn't matter. The Rock on the Joe Rogan Experience. Again, not a lot of wrestling conversation on there. What they talked about wrestling-wise was essentially what I gave to you here. The rest was a lot of just bro talk and bro talk and bro talk. But if that's your kind of thing, go for it. The Rogan podcasts are always a little bit long in the tooth. But you know what? So is this clip. So who am I to fucking judge? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Did you listen to it? What'd you think of it? What are your thoughts on The Rock? I am going to do a second clip here on The Rock from the Joe Rogan Experience, but it's going to be, I'm going to take a different angle with it, a different topic that I left off of this one altogether. So check that shit out. You should be able to see it probably at some point. It'll be on the end cap. Peace, love, and pizza. I'm going to go ahead and move on to that one actually right now. I'm going to do that next, just so you know. If you smell what the PREZ is cooking. Think he could use that as his tagline? If you smell what the PREZ is cooking. You think when he wins, he could come out instead of dun, 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 dun. He could come out to, do you smell what the Rock is cooking? He goes up to the podium, smells it, takes it all in. We've all joked about this, right? The Rock running for president. The Rock should be president, LOL. Even Rogan said it. They always joke The Rock should be president and Oprah should be his vice president. So much so that this was even a concept for the Young Rock show, where The Rock was, the whole premise of it was The Rock was sitting down with a journalist telling his life story on the campaign trail running for president. Well, I would say The Rock dropped some very significant knowledge in this particular clip here from the Joe Rogan Experience podcast, where he talks about them, the shadowy them of one of the two parties. You know the two, the D-Dogs, the R-Dogs, those guys. One of those two parties, and I have a pretty good idea which one, I'm sure you do too, approached The Rock and said, what do you think about running for president? And hold on before you answer. What if we told you from all of this data that we siphoned from Facebook and Twitter that you would actually win if we ran you as president? No shit. Check out this clip.
Well, that's why I wonder where are the call for leaders? You know what I mean? Like where? I mean, it's a big question, but
Well, nobody really wants to be president. It's fucking, they crawl up your ass with a microscope.
Dude.
It's not fun. They've talked about you being president.
Dude, I know.
I remember at one point in time, it was like they were saying it should be The Rock and Oprah. They should be president and vice president.
Dude, so one of the parties came to visit me
Oh, no.
at the end of last year, asking for me to run.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I mean, it was
For president?
president.
Wow.
It was first of all incredibly fucking surreal,
Right.
Because I was the guy, you know, who was wrestling in flea markets
Right.
years ago, looking for free corn dogs and hot dogs and shit, selling my headshots for $5, trying to make money, and then all of a sudden I'm having that conversation. But no, it was just incredibly surreal and so wild, but also so incredible that they had all this data that they had said, if this happens, here's the result.
Oh, wow.
And it was really fucking deep. And then I started to think, again, surreal, because that's never been my goal, right? I appreciate it, and I'm fucking honored, right?
Right.
Because I'm like you in here, in our core, right? But it made me think, it's either this is an incredible thing, and I got some pretty decent leadership skills, or things are so fucked up.
They're turned into the pro wrestler movie star. They try to run the world.
Man.
Think we'd get him calling Kim Jong-un a jabroni? I don't know, man. I don't know. I think him and Rogan talked some politics on this show, and I was a little bit worried for The Rock because we're in this big cancel culture, right? You can't just come out and say how you feel about things. Can't let that kind of shit out. They'll eat you alive, especially if you're running for president or you're a big Hollywood movie star. The Rock is already kind of experiencing that. The Rock was Teflon for a long, long time. Everything he touched turned to gold. Everybody loved The Rock. Now all of a sudden, Rock's starting to get hate, right? He got into it with DC over the Black Adam thing. The Rock was pitching this whole... He wanted to basically kind of take over the DC universe and put him as Black Adam and Superman up at the top of it. You see the cat hair flying around. Doesn't matter. Don't worry about it. And he got in a little bit of beef with the Hollywood studios, and they're kind of mad at him and stuff. So he's falling out of favor with people a little bit. And he's kind of one of those people that have done the live long enough to become the villain thing, you know? Die a hero or live long enough to become a villain. Not that I want The Rock to die, but he's people are turning on him nowadays. So him running for president, oof. In this divisive world, that's a huge risk. And he was trying to tiptoe around the political, Rogan was kind of just giving his unedited, unfiltered thoughts on the Israeli-Palestine situation over there. And Rock just kind of had to go, yeah, it's heartbreaking, man. Yeah, man, it's heartbreaking over there. What do you say when you're The Rock? But he did kind of ask, and it was what led to that clip was, he's like, who has a plan? Who's stepping up to try to settle this shit? Because Rock, and rightfully so, at this point, I think a lot of people are at least on a slight edge that, World War III could just kind of fall out of some president's ass at any point in time now. We're close. This was like what it was like in the Cuban Missile Crisis. Maybe not that bad, but People are feeling it. Conflict. Tensions are rising, and there's no clear out. So The Rock was he's like, how do we, what's the end of this? This is frightening. And he's like, where are the leaders that want to fix this? Where Rogan very accurately pointed out that the people in politics are bought and paid for by big corporations. That's where all their funding comes from, and those are the agendas that they serve. They are there to serve the machine, to make the monies for the machine. Fuck the people. I think, and I had this debate with a buddy that when I was kind of trying to pitch The Rock, it's like, okay, I think The Rock would be great. I was like, hear me out. I know The Rock. I don't know him personally. We've never hung out. We've never clanged and banged and pumped weights or anything like that together. But never drank a protein shake. But look, man, I grew up with The Rock on my TV. I grew up with hearing The Rock talk. I grew up with hearing people talk about The Rock, hearing behind-the-scenes stories about The Rock, reading people's books where they write about working with The Rock, seeing The Rock in Hollywood, hearing Hollywood people talk about working with The Rock. Not a goddamn bad thing to be said about the guy anywhere. I think he got into some heat over the Hawaii gimmick over there too recently, but again, that's an example of, you live long enough to become the villain. People are turning on him now. I mean, Zoa's really good though, dude. Zoa's like it's gotta be like my top 3 energy drinks, right? G Fuel's up there. Zoa's good shit. Give Zoa a try if you haven't given Zoa a try. It's very nice. But I mean, I think The Rock could do the job. I think, look, to save the world, to answer that question very specifically, we need a uniter. We need a great uniter. Preferably one that's not gonna get the old, the old Kennedy haircut. You know what I'm saying? I gotta get somebody that can come in and unite the country, and that nobody's gonna be able to do a goddamn thing about it because they're too high profile. Nobody's gonna give Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson a Kennedy haircut for he doesn't even have hair to start with. Plus, he'll be dropping people's elbows on like Putin and shit. That's what I'm saying. But really, no, I think Rogan astutely said we need somebody that goes in with a true like heart and kindness and like empathy and has the right intentions. And those kind of people don't get into politics. Even as far back as that, I don't remember the name of the movie off the top of my head, but Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. That's what it was. If you guys ever watched that movie, this guy goes to what? He's a politician or some shit, or I don't know. He's working either for a politician or becomes a senator, a congressman or something. And he goes there and he has this real good do-gooder. I'm going to change the world. And he gets there and he realizes it's a giant shit show. And this was back in the black and white movie days, folks. But we need a great uniter, and I think the great one could be the great uniter. I really do. I think he would win, too. And the fact that one of the parties came to him and the Democrats told him that, hey, if we ran you as president, you would win the fucking presidency, bro. You'd win the whole shits. We have all the numbers right here. Look at this shit. Got it printed right off of Meta. We siphoned everybody's information and we were able to decipher for you that people think you'd probably win. People would vote for you. We would like to run you as president, which I got a whole nother batch of questions. If it was the D's, why are they trying to, he said that was last year. So why are they trying to run Dwayne this, for this election? Isn't our leader, our fearless leader, running again? This is only term 1. Come on, man. Maybe it was the other team. Maybe they're like, hey, we need somebody that has more charisma, more likability with the people than Trump. We got somebody that we can win over all those fuckers with with the charismatic. You know what I mean? And that's kind of, and it's funny because Rogan also kind of had a laugh that the world is on the brink of World War III, and everybody's last hope is the Hollywood actor pro wrestler guy, which is straight out of the movie Idiocracy, where Camacho was a pro wrestler and he's the president. It's hilarious. It's hilarious, but we are in that world now with Trump being president, and even Reagan before that was an actor. So it's not, Zelensky over in Ukraine was an actor. So not trying to make this a big political thing, but the topic of the conversation is The Rock for president. You didn't click on this to learn about how he learned the fucking people's elbow, right? We're learning about The Rock running for president, so shut the fuck up. I think The Rock would do great if he has pure of heart. If he's bought and paid for by one of these fucking Hollywood corporation elite motherfuckers or something, then we got a problem. We need a great uniter. We need somebody to come in and say, I hear you. I hear you. Enough. We need to stand together. And you got to find that common cause. And I think The Rock is the personality to do it because everybody likes The Rock. How can you not like a guy like The Rock? But then there's other questions too, like Rogan. And I think Rock was like, whether he's considering it or not, or will ever consider it, is up for debate. But Rogan also said, like, look, man, that's a hard job. Like, you are the guy that has to make the call to do like a drone strike on a target that may have some civilian casualties. In fact, for a fact there will probably be a couple civilian casualties. But it's worth it in the greater effort to knock off this one guy who's going to kill thousands of people. It's the old, excuse me. It's the old train track gimmick, right? Where there's, a whole family tied to one track and then just one person tied to the other, and you got the lever. What you going to do, brother? Either way, somebody's getting, it's a bad decision either way. And the president needs to make those kind of choices. I don't know if The Rock's that kind of guy. I don't know if he can dig that deep to really be that guy. I don't know if I could. That's not a challenge. It's not saying, I don't think you're man enough. I just think, fuck, that takes a special kind of, you're either a heartless, soulless, corrupt fucking corporate puppet, or you, oof. That's why these people go gray. That's why every president goes gray after office. It wears on you. But I don't know, man. The Rock for president, Dwayne The Rock Johnson. I got to say he'd probably get my vote. I'd give him a try. See what he does. I'd be afraid that he would get corrupted. If not corrupted, just misled because he's new. And let me show you how it works around here, Dwayne, and kind of carry him off and kind of get in his ear and teach him all the little dirty stuff. But if he could keep that moral compass, keep some good advisors, keep his head on the straight and narrow, I do think there's a possibility we live in a world where Dwayne The Rock Johnson, clearly in a parallel universe at this point, The Rock is president or will be president or something like that, right? Because if he was approached with that option, the laws of parallel universes where everything can happen at the same time, if you believe in that kind of shit, then somewhere in an alternate timeline, fucking The Rock is president. Maybe we're in that timeline. Who knows? I'll leave it there. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. This isn't do not get political in my comments. Don't start talking about policies. Don't start bickering or talking shit or my blah 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 blah. I don't care. It's not about that. Strictly, keep it to The Rock as president. Do you think he could handle it? Do you think he'd be a good president? Would you vote for The Rock for president, or is it a complete and total joke? Did you listen to the Joe Rogan Experience podcast this week, all 3 hours of it? What'd you think of it? If you did, I thought it was a fun conversation, though I think all of Rogan's podcasts tend to inevitably veer into the, hunting and MMA and cars and supplements and weight training and politics and government shit, and that's fine. I mean, that's what everybody talks about around the table, but it's funny. I don't know, 3 hours, you gotta take it in portions, but that's it. That's all I got for you. Peace, love, and pizza. I'm your boy Seth Grimes. Hit that subscribe button down below, and we will catch you in the next video. So when The Rock came back a couple months ago, the hype train was off the rails. Everybody was very excited for The Rock's big return, out there talking smack with Austin Theory, Pat McAfee. And he said on the Pat McAfee show that he was, at one point, was in the plans for the WrestleMania match at WrestleMania 39 to face Roman Reigns, which ended up going to Cody Rhodes. And then he said, let's not rule out a possibility that I'm going to pop up at WrestleMania 40. And obviously the big match to have is against his cousin Roman Reigns, right? You're not going to bring The Rock back to put him in the ring with Austin Theory at WrestleMania. The match to have is the match against his cousin, Roman Reigns, which is awesome. But all of us were also saying, as we were getting all geeked and excited about the possibility of this, but what about Cody? Well, Cody was on the Busted Open radio show this week, and he answered that question. He brought it up himself. Nobody asked him about it, but he said this is a question that's nobody's had the guts to ask him, so he'll just go ahead and say it. What did Cody Rhodes think of The Rock just kind of walking into SmackDown during Cody Rhodes' era, right? During the Finish the Story era, and saying, yeah, man, I was supposed to be at WrestleMania last year in the main event, and who knows, I might be in the main event this year. What does Cody Rhodes think about that? Check out this clip.
You mentioned The Rock. Nobody has asked me about The Rock because I think they're scared to ask me or don't want to be rude. Or I'll say this about The Rock, and coming out on Pat's show, which I was watching live because I love Pat. And then SmackDown and all this. The Rock did for sports entertainment so much and continues to do so much by being the biggest star in Hollywood that I'm able to be at the level I'm at because I can stand on shoulders like those of The Rock. So he could have come on there and run me down, and I still would have the highest respect for the great one. He's honestly a model superstar for anybody who wants to just supersede all expectations. With that said, though, no matter what he said, anyone who did ask me, anyone who did confront me on it, I said I'm not flinching. I'm not flinching, and I feel like if The Rock and I were in the same room, he would expect nothing less from me. If you think it's somebody else, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure it's me. And that's the same attitude that The Rock had when he was climbing the ladder. I don't care who it is. And if that happens to be The Rock, if that happens to be anybody who comes into this fray, a wonderful superstar like LA Knight, an absolutely stellar performer like Sami Zayn, who him and I went toe to toe in a way last year. It doesn't line them up, and I'm just going to do everything I can to outrun them. I certainly am, and I mean that with the utmost respect to them. I wasn't shook at all by Rock's big day out, and I'm still, again, what I would say is not flinching. If Rock's part of WrestleMania 40, that would be outstanding. He should be. It's The Rock, but I don't think he'll be in my spot.
If I was Cody, I would be pissed, and he has every right to be. And Cody, obviously, always the consummate professional, had nothing but the classiest things to say about The Rock, and to a certain extent, that's true. The Rock has done so much for wrestling that he can pretty much just walk onto the show and do whatever he wants. If he wants to face Roman, he can face Roman. If he wants to eat Cody's sandwich, he can eat Cody's sandwich. Nobody's going to tell him that he can't. However, Cody Rhodes has earned that spot. And it's not a guarantee that he'll ever get there again. That's why people were so pissed off last year when he lost to Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. Yes, it does tell a better story if you can draw it out, and he has to overcome the adversity, and he loses, and then he has to fight back and go through Brock 3 times and all that. But it's not guaranteed. Cody could lose favor with the fans. Cody could get hurt, injured, or Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson could walk through the door and declare himself the #1 contender, and there you go. Steal that spot right away from Cody. If I was Cody, I'd be very pissed off about that, but the way he handled it was perfect. And him just very plainly and simply saying, look, Rock would be great to be at WrestleMania, but he's not going to be in my spot. That's powerful words. I like that. I like that attitude, too, from Cody. This is the same thing Punk ran into when Punk was champion and The Rock came back to face Cena and Punk drops the belt to The Rock at the Royal Rumble. Like, on one hand, The Rock is such a megastar that it's a no-brainer that if you have the opportunity to use The Rock at WrestleMania, you use The Rock. And it's a no-brainer that the biggest match that you can book with The Rock is against his cousin, Roman Reigns. It's not Solo Sikoa. It's not the Usos. It's not Austin Theory. It's The Rock versus Roman Reigns. That's always been the match. But what about Cody's story? He can't finish the story chasing Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight title. That's not the title. That's a prop. That's not the coveted WWE championship. That's lineage goes all the way back to when his dad fought for it and held it up in Madison Square Garden. That's the story. That's the story Cody's trying to finish. And that story can't be finished at Backlash. You want to finish the story at Backlash? And that story can't be finished at the Royal Rumble. It has to be WrestleMania. Maybe it'll be next year. Maybe you slide The Rock in this year against Roman. Roman beats The Rock, LOL again, and then Roman, we get a whole nother year. Do we really want a whole nother year of Roman as champion to have that story finished? And if somebody else beats Roman for the title before that, say Jey Uso or something, or Sami Zayn, then is that big of a match for Cody at WrestleMania 41 to finish the story? No. You could do some sort of 2-night gimmick like they did at WrestleMania 10 where the title's on the line in both night, or, it was the same night then, but, night 1, night 2. But I don't think that that's the route that you want to go with that. I think it has to be Cody versus Reigns, but I don't think we're going to have to worry about this anyway, as it's looking much more like another hypothetical as the writer strike's over now. And that's what brought John Cena back to the WWE. That's what brought The Rock back to the WWE. They had nothing else to do. They weren't doing anything. They couldn't work. They couldn't film anything. They couldn't be out promoting anything. They had to sit on their ass and twiddle their thumbs. So that's what they were doing. So, of course, let's go make some WWE money and pop in over there and do some business over there while we're sitting on our butts waiting for this strike thing to finish up. Now it's over with. Cena's gone. He already left. I don't think we're going to get The Rock at WrestleMania. I think The Rock's going back to work. All these studios are hustling to get movies back into production. The Rock runs a movie studio, and he's an A-list actor. So he's not going to sit on his butt. Now, he could schedule it into WrestleMania, schedule a break or something like that. And he had said that before. He said that on McAfee's show, that scheduling was never the issue. The issue has always been just what's the story. And I think that's half bullshit anyway. I think he was signed on to do it, and then Vince got kicked out of WWE, and then Rock got cold feet. Rock's not always been on the best terms with Triple H. Not that they have any heat now. They just posed for a picture or whatever not that long ago, when Rock was there or whatever. I'm sure they get along fine. I'm sure they do business together just fine and dandy. But does The Rock really want to go work for Triple H? I don't know. Maybe I'm reading into nothing there. But either way, I don't expect to see The Rock at WrestleMania now. Maybe make an appearance. He's not going to be in that match. I don't know if he'll ever. And every year that goes by, he's getting older. Yeah, he's in incredible shape and all of that. But every year that goes by, he's getting older. Every year that goes by, the stories that are there for him to do are less important. Once Roman rides off into the sunset, where's the interest in that match anymore? What's the next match? Like I said, in Austin Theory, sure, fine. It'll draw. Anything with The Rock will draw, but Roman is the guy that you want to do that match with. I don't know that match will ever happen, and I don't think it's going to happen. It could happen maybe Royal Rumble's the place to do that. They're doing a stadium for the Royal Rumble. If Rock really can build this in around his movie schedule, which I still think is bullshit, because he's still got to work out, right? He's still got to practice the match. He's still got to get in ring shape. Hitting the gym, clanging and banging at 3 a.m. like he does every day is not enough to go in the ring in the WWE. You have to have, even running on the treadmill is not going to do it, right? They always say you got to be in ring shape. You got to actually be physically doing the stuff. Rock's got to get in shape. He's got to work out in the ring, and he's got to look at the very real potential that he would get hurt and possibly sidelined from filming movies for a while. He got hurt last time he was in the ring. So all of this to say, I think Cody's spot is just fine at WrestleMania 40, but it might not be. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Who do you want to see in the main event at WrestleMania 40? Do you want to see Rock versus Roman? Do you want to see Cody finish the story against Roman? Or none of the above, or maybe some kind of stupid triple threat bullshit, or night 1, night 2. How would you do this? And even if you do a night 1, night 2, now you're stealing a main event spot from like a Seth Rollins or a Becky Lynch or a Charlotte, or nobody really cares if somebody steals it from Charlotte, but you get the point. You don't want to just hog it all with Roman and Rock and stuff, but it's interesting. They have many options, many directions to go. Who knows? Maybe somebody will get hurt and the option will be made for us. But if I was a betting man, I'd say it's Cody versus Roman 2. Cody finishes the story, but let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next. Well, everybody's favorite douchebag YouTuber, and no, I'm not talking about myself. I am talking about Logan Paul pissing people off once again, this time now as the new United States champion, defeating Rey Mysterio over in the desert, over in Saudi Arabia. And Logan brings back the gold and immediately took it online. Now, Logan Paul is an influencer. He is a social media guy, right? He came up in Vine or whatever the short, not Vine, but the other one, I don't remember. But then now YouTube and the Japanese Force thing and all of that. But Logan Paul, this is his thing. He does the shit on social media that stirs people up. And that's exactly what he did as the United States champion. As he took to Instagram here, posted a couple clips, a couple pics here. We got this first one of Logan in a cowboy hat, smoking a cigar with the United States Championship over his shoulder. Look at that. That's some man shit right there. Cowboy Logan Paul. Just manly as all fuck, shirtless. Strap over the shoulder. Blinging out in the sun. Look at this guy. Then we got this pic of him here working out, getting a sweat in, running on the treadmill, holding a Prime bottle, the yellow Prime, the lemon Prime. That shit's really good, by the way. It's not like lemon. It's called lemonade, but it doesn't taste like lemonade. It's like a creamy lemonade, like a lemon meringue pie. Oh my God, it's fucking great. With the United States Championship around his waist. But it gets worse. That's not where the outrage was. The outrage came from these two in particular. Maybe not this one. This one here, he is playing Big Spoon, Littler Spoon with his girlfriend. And his girlfriend is the Big Spoon. That was obviously by choice. I hope that that's not how they cuddle up at night. But that's not my business. Hey, how you like to cuddle up is up to you, man. To each his own. But you see, his girlfriend is the Big Spoon, Logan, the Little Spoon, and the United States Championship as the littlest spoon. This is so fun. I like this. This is fun pictures and stuff. Lastly, this is the one that got everybody pissed off. You have Logan Paul's naked balls hiding behind the United States Championship. Penis to the back of the belt. This is the same championship that John Cena wore proudly around his waist. Now has Logan Paul's penis tip, ball smears, pubic hair sticking to it, all of that, as he wears it in the shower around his waist and nothing else. This shit's fun, guys. Come on. He's a heel, first of all, so it's his job to piss you off and get under your skin. Secondly, he is a social media influencer. This is his job to stir shit up on social media, to post stuff. Quite frankly, to have Logan Paul representing the WWE, carrying the United States title everywhere he goes, this has already been a fucking win for the WWE, as not only did Logan spread the United States title and all of his other filth all over Instagram, but he also made the media rounds. Here, this would be Logan Paul immediately after winning the United States title, sitting down with Inside the Ropes. Must have been like some sort of, video thing immediately, because Logan's still sweating, still in his gear. And he talks about not only winning the United States title, but the botch, the near death of Rey Mysterio and catching Rey Mysterio. Check out this clip.
Listen, you're getting a lot of love online for saving Rey Mysterio. I don't know if you've seen this. A lot of people are loving the catch. Rey Mysterio won't thank you for losing the belt, but he might thank you for saving his neck.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I guess that's cool. I was just trying to body slam him and hurt him.
He couldn't win either way.
Nah. Rey Mysterio ain't going out on an accident. Rey Mysterio's going out by these hands. Whose idea was it to give me this, man? This thing ain't leaving my side. This is like one of the greatest accomplishments of my life. Nice dog.
Yeah, thank you.
And yeah, man, I'm just so stoked that Triple H and the company believes in me like they do. Hopefully I can make them proud, and I know I will.
I like how Logan worked it there. I like him just saying, yeah, well, if Ray's going to go down, he's going to go down by my hands. Keeping that kayfabe, brother. I love it. What's up, y'all? Editing Seth here, just jumping in real quick. As I'm working on editing up this video, Logan Paul dropped his podcast, Impulsive, and he talked more about the situation with Rey Mysterio and the potential botch that happened there. And in that previous clip we were showing, he was kind of playing it off, all kayfabe, brother. on Inside the Ropes. But he opened up a little bit more about it on his podcast. Check out this clip.
Where, I won the U.S. Championship against Rey Mysterio on the table. Let's
go, champ.
It was a good, healthy, clean match. One fair and square.
You saved Rey Mysterio from breaking his neck and dying, right?
I have a...
Is that real, or is that just like, did you have a PR team put that out there? Like,
all right, man.
Logan saves him from breaking his neck in the life of being paralyzed.
Look, I'm going to come clean. Because I seen all these positive headlines, right? Logan saves Rey Mysterio. The Mexican community is going crazy. They're praising me, saying I'm some sort of what's like hero in Spanish?
Sicario.
I'm some sort of Sicario.
Gringo Sicario.
Some sort of gringo Sicario.
White Sicario, yes.
And so I'm like, dang, I'm being recognized for doing something cool. I'll take it. But then I looked at the clip. And upon assessing my performance, while I think I did save Rey Mysterio, I think I also almost killed Rey Mysterio. I think I was too far back for the move, and I think he didn't clear enough ground for the move. That's what happened. Like I was too far back, and he didn't clear enough ground. We both, I think, made a mistake, and I had to catch him.
Mm-hmm.
I had to catch him. And I wasn't going to not catch him. So, like, truthfully, while I like the headlines and I like being gassed up like this, I was just doing my job.
Yeah.
But I'll take it. I'll take the praise.
Well, if he would have jumped on me like that, he'd be toast.
Yeah, you crush him. Yeah.
You caught him. You did it.
Yeah, man, props to Logan, not just for having the awareness, like the guy said at the end there, like, you did it. I wouldn't have did it, I wouldn't have been able to catch him. So props for Logan to having the awareness. Look, he's green. He's new. He has not the experience that a lot of these other guys have in his position. So it's not, yes, he was definitely out of place for that springboard, and maybe Rey undershot it as well. But just the fact that Logan had the self-awareness, the in-ring awareness, because that's something that's only comes with experience. That's something that he gets a lot of praise for, is because that experience only comes with time. And for him to have the self-awareness to jump right in there and save Rey before he crashed and burned shows that, he's got a good head on his shoulders when it comes to being in the ring. So good on him. Just wanted to splice this in here. Another thing that came out after I filmed the previous clip that you're in the middle of here that I did want to give attention to, just because it's got to do with everything else that we're talking about here later on, is this clip of Logan Paul trying to pawn the United States title. That's right, trying to pawn it. Check out this clip.
I wanted to see how much I could get for this. That's a WWE United States Championship.
Am I allowed to buy this?
I mean, if you have a good offer. I don't know the history behind this belt, but I do know that it was taken off of Rey Mysterio. He's How much? I'd do 100,000 for this. Oh, careful now, it's the U.S. title.
Who was supposed to buy from me?
I don't know, maybe Cody Rhodes walks in here, maybe Seth Rollins walks in here. There's a guy by the name of LA Knight. Yeah! For sure as damn hell he ain't getting it from me. How does it look on me? Like this, like kind of like gangster like this?
Yes, smile, yes.
He sent the picture to his niece. She said, is he looking for a girlfriend? No, yeah, but I'm engaged.
Okay, look.
And of course, he's getting mad hate online for that as well. Same with the picture. But this is what he does, man. But I talk more about all this in the other clip that you are going to continue watching right now. Just wanted to pop in, like I said, and give the update while I still had the chance. Yes, I'm editing it, but it hasn't gone live yet, which means I can still contribute. So that's what I'm doing. Back to your regularly scheduled programming. Logan, clearly very, this is a big thing for him. And he's very proud of this. And he's parading it all around social media. And we should be thankful that he's out there doing that, giving the WWE that kind of exposure, bringing prestige to the United States title. Look, the United States title, when's the last time the United States title appeared on anywhere, ever, outside of WWE television? Well, it was now because Logan Paul was on the Fox Business Channel talking about Prime. He recently just sold their 1 billionth bottle already of Prime, which is monumental. Say what you want about Logan and KSI or whatever, whoever the business guy is behind that. I mean, they're making dirty money off Prime. It's in all these stores now. He is a huge success. So that's what they were there to talk about, but that's what the business guy wanted to talk about anyway. But what did Logan Paul want to talk about? He wanted to talk about the United States Championship and beating people up in a WWE ring. Check out this clip.
Logan Paul, the man himself. Logan is a business owner, he's an influencer, he's a boxer, and now he is the newly minted US champion of the WWE. Congratulations. So have you walked away from boxing?
Thank you. Yeah, I think I've retired from boxing. I think I've done enough in the sport, going fully undefeated at 25-0. So yeah, I'm gonna be a wrestler now.
And there's no more money in it, is there?
Yeah, no more money in boxing. Every company's going broke, so full-time wrestler.
So you are the US champion?
As it stands, yeah. Beat Rey Mysterio fair and square for the U.S. Championship. And yeah, it feels great, bro. Life's different now.
You don't look very beaten up.
No. It was a dominant performance, I have to be honest. Yeah, some frog splashes, some punches. It was good. I feel good.
Not bashful about coming forward, are you?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Part of your career, I believe.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about Prime. It's a drink.
That's right.
May I inform my audience? It's a drink, right?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not a money guy. I don't even know why I'm on this show. I'm not like a business guy, to be honest with you. I'm just the United States champion. I'm focused on frog splashing people, putting on 5-star matches.
So where are you going from here?
I'm going actually to the pop-up shop down the street to put this bottle in the machine that will either destroy it or have someone win it.
But you're still in wrestling, right? That's the future for you.
Yeah, man. You know, I got to defend this belt. There's going to be people coming after me. Seth Rollins, LA Knight, Cody Rhodes. Like, whoever wants it, they can come get it. You know, Mr. Bad Bunny. Whoever wants it can come get it. But I got some stuff to do in the WWE.
Do you make more money in wrestling than you did in boxing?
Varney, that's confidential.
Okay. Do you make more money in wrestling than the drink?
No.
No?
So why do you put the title on Logan Paul? That's exactly why you put the title on Logan Paul. He is giving the WWE and that United States title far more exposure publicly. And he's going around and he's saying, look, I'm just a wrestler. I don't know why you're asking me. I'm not a business guy. I'm just a wrestler. I just like to body slam people. This motherfucker, he is representing it. And when he was talking on Inside the Ropes, well, he said here in the Fox Business thing that he retired from boxing, and on Inside the Ropes, he casually mentioned that he's going to be a full-time wrestler. Now, I don't think he's retired from boxing. I think that's bullshit. But I do think he's saying that because I do think he's putting his focus in WWE. And I think people have gotten in his ear. Maybe a Triple H. This is purely speculation, but, said, hey, man, you are meant to do this. You can have all your Prime and your YouTube and your podcast and all the other shit that you do. Go out, do it, have fun. But, and if he does want to do boxing and shit, I mean, he won his last boxing fight, so it's not like he's making a joke of himself or anything like that. But I think this is a sign that he's kind of dedicating himself to the WWE. Now, that remains to be seen. We'll see how often he's actually around, how many matches he has, what kind of contributions he's willing to make. I wouldn't be surprised if he's here pretty regularly now, at least through WrestleMania. And he is made for this. He's made for everything else he's doing, too. You saw him kind of laugh there. He's like the business guy asking him if Prime pays him more than WWE. He just kind of laughs like, yeah, a lot more. Like, he doesn't need the WWE. That's the other thing. He's doing it because he loves it. He's not hard up for the paycheck. He's out there having fun. And then to take that title and to go out and use his following, his fan base, his social media audience to promote WWE and the United States title like he is, to have fun with it, to be a heel, to go on TV like Fox Business when they're trying to interview him about his billionth bottle of Prime, and he's sitting there with the United States title in front of him like Tyrus did. That's why Tyrus was the NWA champion, because he was on Fox TV all the goddamn time and was getting seen with that title. And people are pissing and moaning and bitching and complaining about Logan disgracing the United States title and making a joke. Shut the fuck up. You guys have zero clue how good a business this is for the WWE. He's doing great. Until he pisses on it or throws it in the trash can, I'm not going to say he's disgracing it. I don't much care if his balls touch the back of it. That's on him. You know what? Maybe the next guy wants to pick Logan Paul's pubic hairs off the United States title. That could be. I mean, at least he didn't bust a cum load on it like we saw when Paige was the NXT champion, right? Right? I mean, at least he doesn't have cum shots on the belt, so at least there's that. Give the man a little grace and try to understand what they're trying to do with the WWE and quit being such a bitch. Quit being such a bitch. This is good for business and I am all for it. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And while you're there, hit that subscribe button. Peace, love, and pizza. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next motherfucker. So in a previous video, I had discussed the upcoming John Cena movie that he had filmed for Warner Brothers Discovery, doing the Wile E. Coyote versus ACME, sort of a live action / cartoon Looney Tunes movie, similar to Space Jam or Who Framed Roger Rabbit, for example. And this movie was basically finished. This was something that John Cena had already filmed at least his parts for. I believe all the live action was done. I don't know how far into development the animation was, but they decided to just scrap it all together. The animation department got a new head of animation. He came in and basically said, you know what, we're just not going to go forward with that movie. They spent like $75 million on it to get it produced, and then the movie was just shelved instead of going forward with finishing it and doing, the marketing budget and just throwing more money at it. They're just going to put it on the shelf and call it a loss and never see the light of day. Of course, that was the case up until today, where news has come out now that Warner Brothers Discovery has received significant backlash on this decision to shelve the John Cena movie, and are now looking to possibly shop it around to potential people that want to go ahead and put this movie out, like a Netflix or somebody else other than Warner Brothers Discovery. For more information on this, let's go ahead and check out with my man Andre in this clip from Black Nerd Comedy.
So a few years ago, Warner Brothers announced that they were going to be making a live-action animation hybrid movie called Coyote versus ACME. Plus, this movie was going to have... So this seemed like a surefire win. This is coming out. And then we just found out recently that they were shelving the movie, even though the movie is pretty much complete, even though they spent $70 million some on making it, they were going to shelve the entire movie so they can get a tax write-off. That's why they call it show business, not show art, kid. Needless to say, this was starting to become a pattern at Warner Brothers of if they didn't want to release certain things, they could just shelve it, get a tax write-off, but all the people that worked on that are now having a project that never sees the light of day. But something about this one got people upset. And I'm not just talking about the general public upset. We get upset at everything all the time. That's just how the internet works. But I'm talking about the industry itself got pissed. This is all hearsay stuff, but according to some of the articles, there's also been reports that actors and directors canceled meetings with Warner Brothers as a result of this. People are going to start to worry, if I make a movie with you or make a TV show with you, even if it's done, there is the possibility that you will not release it. So of course, that's going to make people a little more hesitant to want to work with you if they have a feeling that they're going to be the next project that's going to happen to. Now, the latest reports that they're reversing course. Warner Brothers actually pulled a Sonic and was like, you know what, we was playing, get that thing off a shelf. We don't even know how this thing even got on the shelf. We gonna release it. What are you talking about? I mean, we gonna get somebody else to pay for it to release it, but it's coming out. They are gonna release it, but they're looking for someone else to be the main distributor of it. So they're looking at Prime Video, Apple, Netflix. Why did Coyote versus Acme, of all things, was the one? Well, I think the timing had a lot to do with it. This report started coming out less than 24 hours after the SAG-AFTRA strike ended. The writers, the actors striking against Hollywood, and one of the first things you want to do as a corporation that you were already having fights with, one of the things y'all worked on, we just gonna shelve. I'm not saying that people would have been upset at any time that this happened, but I just feel like having it happen right at that moment was probably what made people go like, what?
So right after the writer's strike is not exactly the best time to come out and just decide that you want to shelve an entire project that so many people worked on, put their blood, sweat, and tears behind. So instead of facing and they were running into situations where actors were possibly not wanting to sign or work with Warner Brothers going forward because they don't know if they sign on that dotted line that their movie's ever even going to see the light of day, because this would be now the second time that Warner Brothers Discovery has done this. Now, this isn't anything new. Movie companies, movie studios have done this before, recorded, filmed entire movies and then just put them on the shelf for whatever reason. Maybe they didn't turn out the way that they did. They do this a lot with scripts too, more so with scripts. They'll buy a script to a movie and then they'll just throw it on the shelf and it will never see the light of day. The writer got paid, but that movie will never, ever exist because the writer got paid for it, so he can't take it anywhere else, and the studio's just not going to make it. So there it sits, collecting dust. These are the types of things that happen, but again, as Andre said, that you can't just come out and do this right after an actor's strike. Everybody's looking to get back to work. Everybody's looking to get moving. The last thing the studios want to do is start pissing off the actors right out the gate or giving them any reason to not want to work with them anymore. And, look, with John Cena as the main actor in this, and James Gunn produced it, by the way. James Gunn, the Guardians of the Galaxy James Gunn, the head of the DC Universe James Gunn. So this is, most likely a project that will make money. I don't see why they saw it as something that was going to be a bomb for them. Maybe they should put Captain Marvel in it and then it would bomb. But no, I think this is going to be a huge success for them. But they're going to decide to just pass it off to somebody else instead. I think, look, James Gunn's a very creative guy. He's a smart guy. He puts his name on good shit. The Suicide Squad, good shit. I'm a pretty big fan. Guardians of the Galaxy, good shit. The things that James Gunn produces turn out pretty well for the most part. The Peacemaker show, and John Cena's proven himself in Hollywood as well. So this is not a reflection on the quality of the movie, at least as far as I know. I mean, fuck, maybe people did watch it and it did suck. And they're like, you know what? This is horrible. We can't show this to the public. That was supposedly what happened with the Batgirl movie. The Batgirl was just that bad that they were like, no, we can't show this to people. It'll ruin our company. I don't think that was the case with this movie, but it is possible. Now, I've heard conflicting reports. Andre here says the movie was done. But in that previous clip that the last time that I talked about this from the John Campea show, John Campea said as far as he's aware, it was only the principal photography, like all the live action stuff. And now it's all like back end studio work. So whether it's done or it still has work to be done, sounds like it is done if they're looking to sell it at this point. They're not looking for somebody to pick up the tab to finish producing it. So they must have a finished product ready to go. And they're just looking for a distributor now. This will most likely end up on streaming, unfortunately. Look, in my opinion, depending on the quality of the movie. Now, we don't know, like I said, it could be a bomb, but in my opinion, this has a potential to be something that could do okay in theaters, but this will most likely land on streaming. But it does sound like, according to the new reports that are coming out, that Warner Brothers Discovery heard significant backlash and this John Cena movie is on its way out. So it turns out that you can see John Cena. Oh, it's true. It's damn true. It's Kurt Angle on the True Geordie podcast. True Geordie, a YouTuber, a big burly Scotsman or Irishman, something like that. I don't know. I can't tell the difference between your accents. Don't get mad at me. Sounds the same. I mean, I can't tell the difference between a British accent or an Australian accent really either. So it just is what it is. It all sounds the same to me. But we had Kurt Angle on the True Geordie podcast. True Geordie has had other wrestlers on in the past, but it's more of an eclectic podcast. He's had Jericho on in the past, and somebody else I'm thinking of too, but I don't remember off the top of my head. But he's definitely a wrestling fan, and he sat down and he had a fun little conversation with our Olympic gold medalist. A lot of this was just kind of the same shit that's been talked about by Kurt Angle in multiple interviews. You know, we just had him on Joe Rogan not that long ago, and he talked about a lot of the same exact shit. So there wasn't a lot of new takeaways from this episode, but there was one thing in particular that did pique my interest and made my ears percolate a little bit, and that's when Kurt Angle started talking about Chris Benoit. And it was credit to True Geordie here for asking the question. You know, Kurt was talking about some of his best matches or favorite matches, and he name dropped Benoit, and Geordie had a good follow-up. Hey, man, a lot of people don't really talk about Chris Benoit anymore. He's kind of, you know, persona non grata, if you will. But why do you drop his name still? Kurt Angle had an interesting answer, and it deserves some thought. Check out this clip.
I will tell you, the reason why I keep Chris Benoit's legacy going is because I have my best matches with him. If I pretend like he didn't exist, I pretend that I didn't exist. Because my greatest match is 2003 Royal Rumble against Chris Benoit for the WWE Championship. Iron Man match against Chris Benoit. We had WrestleMania 17 match against Chris Benoit. You name it. Backlash pay-per-view against Benoit. I have my best matches with Benoit. And if I don't recognize Chris Benoit, I'm not recognizing myself, because they were literally my best matches. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. I had some great matches with Shawn Michaels and Brock Lesnar and Undertaker and Rock and Triple H and Stone Cold. But you know, for me, Benoit was the guy because he reminded me of me. When he got in there, he was an intense technical master that knew everything about wrestling. And him and I meshed really well in the ring. And I was always excited to wrestle him, but I always knew it was going to be hard because he matched my intensity. He was able to step it up a level and stay with me. And no other wrestler has been able to do that.
That's a fascinating take. That's not something that I ever really considered with Chris Benoit. You think about it, and Chris Benoit has this legacy in professional wrestling as one of the all-time greats, and unfortunately, he also has this legacy in professional wrestling of maybe being the most evil, or at least doing the most evil deeds that any man could ever do, you know. Family annihilator. Oof. That's some heavy shit. Now, there's people out there that will, you know, there's a strong contingency of people out there on the internet that are supporters of Chris Benoit for the WWE Hall of Fame. Every year you hear, you know, can we get Benoit in there now? Can we get Benoit in there now? I think for a large majority of those people, it's the idea that they can just kind of separate the art from the artist. You know, that's not always easy for everybody to do. But for example, I mean, it's something that I do. I'm pretty comfortable with. You know, I can watch a Chris Benoit match without, you know, raging or having an existential crisis about what he did. I can separate the two, the man and the tragic events of his and his family's passing, from his body of work in the ring. Same with Michael Jackson, right? I mean, we all do this to some extent, don't we? I mean, Michael Jackson, you're not going to stop listening to Billie Jean or fucking Thriller 'Cause you're not going to stop listening to that just because Michael Jackson may or may have not diddled with little kids or whatever, but his music is so good that we put that aside. We won't forget about it, but we just take that hat off while we're listening to the music and we go, that's my jam. We don't talk about what he did. This is separate. This is the music. So I get that perspective for Chris Benoit, you know. But some people, that's a little bit too heavy. You know, you can't, some people can't cross that line. He did this shit and now we're just going to never talk about him again, never watch anything he ever did again. But the problem with that is that Benoit was rather successful in professional wrestling. And, you know, things like a WrestleMania 20 main event. WrestleMania 20 should be an all-time iconic, memorable, historical event. 20 years after the original, back in Madison Square Garden, star-studded like a motherfucker. Every match was a banger. This was so star-studded that you had The Rock and Mankind versus Batista, Randy Orton, and Ric Flair in a 2-on-3 handicap match, just somewhere sprinkled on early in the card, like match number 2, 3, just in there somewhere, just in the mix. That's how big of an event this was, and it was main evented by Chris Benoit winning the World Heavyweight Championship, and then that hugging moment with Eddie, that should be iconic. That should stand the test of time. That should be in the highlight reels for years to come, every WrestleMania. But it has to be swept under the rug because of what Chris Benoit did. But in Kurt Angle's case, he, as he said, had some of his best matches with Benoit. He stands behind those matches. He's proud of those matches. And if he never talks about those matches, he's not only erasing Benoit from wrestling history, which is one thing, but he's erasing himself from wrestling history to a certain extent. His accomplishments, some of his goals, you know, some of his biggest achievements, his most proudest moments. When your favorite match is with a guy that nobody can talk about, what do? You just never talk about it again, or do you try to separate the two? I think the legacy of Chris Benoit will always be tainted. I don't think he'll ever end up in a Hall of Fame. I think you guys got to get over that. The people out there that think that, you know, Benoit someday, somehow will just find his way onto the WWE Hall of Fame after enough time or something. You know, for the most part, like I said, it's the people that are able to separate the man from the work and want to honor the work. Though there are definitely a few sickos out there that I've come across that just want to honor Chris Benoit because the crippler, you know what I'm saying? Like, maybe not. Maybe let's not do that. You know, we don't know what happened in those last moments. Everybody that ever talks about Benoit, you know, always said he was a little weird, a little off, a little intense maybe, but not a murderer. So, you know, clearly he snapped somewhere in that time frame. You know, mental health, man. Mental health. But I don't blame Kurt Angle for keeping this part of his legacy and for bringing it up. And I wanted to share that with you because it was a really interesting perspective. And I've never really heard anybody talk about Chris Benoit in that context of their own personal body of work. And how just blacking out Chris Benoit kind of blacks out a lot of other people's history as well, too. Like Triple H and Shawn Michaels had a banger of a triple threat match with Benoit. That can never be, they're never even going to show a highlight of that match. It's sad. Triple H versus Shawn Michaels in the main event of a WrestleMania. Add Chris Benoit. I'll never forget the day I heard Chris Benoit. I was living with a buddy, college years, you know, and I come home, set the keys on the counter. And he's like, bro, Chris Benoit. I was like, no. I think I jumped on YouTube when YouTube was in its early days still. Crazy shit. But I'm going to go ahead and leave it there. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Do you think that Benoit, because of what he did, should never, ever, ever be mentioned again, no matter what context, no matter how good of a body of work that he had or who worked with him? Or do you think that we should try to separate the art from the artists and still try to be able to appreciate Chris Benoit's matches, his body of work in the ring, and not hold that, keep that separate from what he actually did in his personal life? Are you one of those people that think he should be in the Hall of Fame? If so, I'd like to hear why. I won't judge you. I'm not going to rip on you or nothing, but I want to hear your thoughts. How do you justify why a Chris Benoit deserves to be in the Hall of Fame? Is it as simple as just because of his body of work? Or are you just, is that your kink? Is that what you're into? I don't fucking know. Let me know in the comments below. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next. So it's become a bit of a fun trend on YouTube for people to do interviews while they're doing something else. Hot Ones, probably the biggest example. While you eat hot chicken wings, you get interviewed. Kevin Hart has the thing where you sit in the ice bathtub. Sheamus has one where you're working out. And then there's this guy here, Dr. Bo Hightower, who is a chiropractor on YouTube, who interviews people while he gives them adjustments, while he's popping their necks and shit. I could use a little bit myself. And he's had a few wrestlers on in the past. I think Bobby Lashley was on there. I can't remember who else off the top of my head, but I know this guy is definitely a wrestling fan. And heading into the big AEW pay-per-view this week, he had the AEW World's Champion on, MJF. And he sat and he interviewed MJF while giving MJF the old snap, crackle, and pop, twisting his neck, bending his spine, twisting his hips, hammering on him with a hammer and chisel. And this was a fun little interview. MJF did his usual shtick. And there was almost nothing really newsworthy by the time we got to the end of this. Just MJF being MJF and answering just normal questions. But right here at the end, this guy asks MJF, why do you think Hulk Hogan gets so much hate? And MJF didn't hold back. Check out this clip.
Bite down, relax your belly.
Oh, that felt fucking weird.
So why do you think that Hogan takes so much heat in the wrestling community?
Because he's a liar and a racist. It doesn't change the fact that he was a massive draw, and the professional wrestling business will never be the same because of him, for the better. But there are plenty of professional wrestlers that did great business. It doesn't mean that they're great people. Chris Benoit was a great professional wrestler. It doesn't mean that he was a good person. And I think for some reason, wrestling fans kind of struggle with that.
They can't separate.
They can't separate the two, which is why I think people love me, because I'm out and out a horrible person, and I'm honest about it.
There you go.
So it's like, at least I'm honest about it.
Yeah. I'll just let you know.
It's really sad that this is Hulk Hogan's legacy now, because Hulk Hogan is a guy that should go down as one of, if not the greatest of all time. There would not be a professional wrestling business without Hulk Hogan. Think about it. Before Hulk Hogan, it was all the territories system. Sure, Vince Jr. was plotting to go national, but he hadn't really done it yet until he brought Hulk Hogan in. The WWF was probably one of the biggest territories, simply just because it was based out of New York and Madison Square Garden and the Philadelphia Spectrum and the, you know, that kind of stuff. Boston Garden, that was all Vince's territory. Vince Sr. Those are big venues. And naturally, you know, all the entertainment and all of that based out of New York, you know, everything's big in New York. That's the, you know, especially in the 80s, the 70s, you know, Hollywood also out on the West Coast. But Vince had that New York locked down, and that's why they were so big. But they weren't able to go national till Vince Jr. had Hulk Hogan. They weren't going to be able to do it with Bob Backlund. And, you know, as long as Bruno reigned and as many Madison Square Garden shows and so on that he sold out as champion, they weren't going national with Bruno either. It wasn't until the Hulkster, Hulkamania, brother. Running wild. What you gonna do? Maybe they could have did it with Roddy Piper, but it was really Hulk Hogan's magic, and then the pairing with MTV, with the Cyndi Lauper, with the Mr. T, the Rock and Wrestling. He had a goddamn cartoon on TV. Hulkamania made professional wrestling. Vince, you know, along with Vince, it was a partnership. At that time, it wasn't the big WWF machine that Hulk was just lucky to be a part of. Hulk built. WWF is the house that Hulk Hogan built, for lack of better words. He reinvented the business. He changed it forever. Then in the early 90s, when wrestling was back on a downturn again, the steroid trials, and, you know, all the 80s wrestlers were kind of aging out or getting let go because they were all junkies and steroid addicts and stuff. It was dark days for professional wrestling. But what brought it out of the dark? Stone Cold Steve Austin, the Attitude Era? Nope. You would be wrong. I mean, it was. But what triggered the Attitude Era and Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock and Mr. McMahon? Mr. McMahon? It was Hulk Hogan turning heel, brother, to the dirty NWO for life. Revolutionized the game again. The NWO, Hulk Hogan's heel turn, changed the business forever again. Created the path for the Attitude Era with the rebellious nature of the NWO, the realism, the violence, the street fighting, the spray paint, the graffiti, the takeovers. It could only be outdone by an Attitude Era, by a Stone Cold Steve Austin and a Rock. Then Hulk Hogan comes back to WWE. It maybe doesn't revolutionize the game again, but left us with one of, if not certainly one of, most iconic WrestleMania matches of all time. And if it's not what's the other ones? Also Hulk Hogan matches. Hogan slamming Andre. What's more iconic than that? A close number 2, perhaps Hulk versus Rock. That moment where they just slowly turn their heads and look at the crowd and turn it back. And as legend has it, they did the double turn in the match because the fans were just 1,000% behind Hulkamania. Though Hulk didn't have a whole nother run at that time, Hulk Hogan left behind an iconic match that I guarantee you WrestleMania 50, 60, 75, WrestleMania 100, when they do the video packages and they show the highlights over history, you know for a fact Hulk Hogan is going to be in there, both slamming Andre the Giant in that iconic moment with The Rock. So it's sad that after all of that in his career, Hulk Hogan is yet another one who has lived long enough to become the villain. And that's exactly what happened. All his racist bullshit started leaking out. Stuff that he was saying behind closed doors that nobody was even... It wasn't even like out of context or anything. He's just talking to his kid about, hopefully Brooke doesn't, end up with this kind of guy. If she does, hopefully it's a basketball player at least, and he'll have money. This was a private conversation. Not to mention the N-bombs being dropped in other conversations. Wasn't it with Bubba the Love Sponge or something? While he was fucking his wife, he was going, yeah, those N-word guys. I don't know. But he's clearly a racist. It's not even hyperbole or... Allegedly, Hulk's come out and he's denied it and said, it was just, I was in a bad period of my time, period of life. And he was, to be fair, he was going through some shit. And people, when they're at their lowest, are kind of, they're iffy. They're iffy on things. When they're at their low point, you can't judge their entire character by someone at their lowest point. You got to take the good and the bad. You got to take them as a whole. But even when Hogan was back on his apology tour, he got brought back to WWE. Word was in the locker room, he never really apologized for saying the words. He apologized. He warned the locker room to be careful about what they say as a public figure in public or behind closed doors. You're a public figure. You got to watch what you say. He didn't say I shouldn't have said that. No, maybe he did. I don't know. But I know that there's several people within the WWE locker room that have not forgiven him for that. And never will. He'll always be remembered as a racist. Whether he is in his heart of hearts or not. Like I said, you can't necessarily judge people at their lowest of low points. But... what's he done to show that he's not? Or said to show that he's not? And then the liar part of it, that's not even debatable. I mean, fuck, I've done multiple videos on this myself. We have caught Hogan in so many, like Jim Cornette's done videos on this. James over at Wrestling Shoot Interviews has done videos on this. It's well documented at this point that Hulk Hogan lies about everything. So it was fun hearing MJF say that, and he said it so flippantly, slow, just off the tongue, just because he's a liar and a racist. Yeah. And you saw Dr. Bo in the background just barely holding it together, and just because it's true. It's true. And it's sad that that's the case, because as I had laid out for you, Hulk Hogan is a man that should have an ironclad legacy and be remembered fondly as probably the greatest, most significant contributor to the pro wrestling industry as a whole, ever, of all time, ever, as a wrestler. Not a Vince McMahon. Obviously, Vince is the biggest contributor to the pro wrestling business overall. But as a worker, you could say Stone Cold drew bigger money. That's not debatable. Well, maybe that even is debatable. Maybe, I'm not sure if Hulk or if Austin has made more money, outdrew Hogan. I'm pretty sure he has, but it's close. Hogan was a big draw, but Hogan contributed more to the overall business. There wouldn't be that Attitude Era if it weren't for the NWO and Hogan turning heel. There wouldn't be a WWE in the mainstream consciousness as a multi-million-dollar at that time on its way to $1 billion company without Hulkamania, brother. The liar and the racist. Other than that, not a lot else to be interested in from this video. Just, normal MJF, just fun conversation, but that one really was worth sharing, so I thought I'd drop that in. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Is Hulk Hogan a racist, or do you think he was just kind of out of context Jones on that one? Or do you think, he was just at a low point and didn't really mean it? I'm sorry. Or was it dead on accurate? He's a liar and a racist, and fuck him. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next brother. Well, in a perfect example of the pot calling the kettle black, we had Vince Russo, bro, criticizing Tony Khan about shitty booking. Now, of course, Vince Russo has a little bit of room to talk because, like or hate his style of booking, he was the guy who was the head writer presiding over the highest rated, most beloved, most talked about and remembered and reminisced upon period of pro wrestling ever in history. Bro. So he's got a little room to talk, right? He took to his YouTube channel, the Vince Russo brand, and he had a whole lot to say about our friend Tony Khan and the poor ticket sales and the poor ratings and the perceived lack of storytelling and yada yada that we keep hearing. Check out this clip, bro.
I have never met Tony Khan. I have never had a conversation with him. I didn't know who he is. Therefore, I had never said a word about him. But Tony, in an effort to get over with the marks, thought he'd insult Vince Russo. And what Tony Khan said was, when Vince Russo went to WCW, all they had was a little hangnail. And Russo proceeded to cut the entire arm off. So Tony Khan not only took a shot at me, but Tony Khan also blatantly lied. In his mind, I cut the arm off. Why? Because Tony Khan is a wrestling mark. And Tony Khan does not like entertainment. Tony Khan does not like, obviously, good characters and good storylines. And that's what Vince Russo was known for. So in Tony's mind, regardless of what the rating really was, regardless, Russo cut off the entire arm because he was putting out a version of professional wrestling that I did not like. Because I'm a mark. And all I like are the choreographed fights, bro. All I like is the bell-to-bell wrestling. I don't like anything else. Karma is a bitch, man. Karma is a bitch. You think it's freaking easy writing all that television every week and all those pay-per-views, and then you have multiple shows? You think that's easy, bro? That you're taking a shot at me and you don't even know me? Karma is a bitch. AEW, bro, is free falling. This thrashing is about how Tony Khan and Dave Meltzer have killed AEW, bro. They have absolutely killed AEW. Bro, I will say this over and over again. On their first show 4 years ago, AEW did a 1.4 million people watched the show. 4 years later, they've never, ever, ever come close to that number again.
The wrestling, bro. No one likes wrestling. You have to appeal to a bigger audience, bro. He's not wrong. AEW clearly has its audience. AEW as an alternative product to the WWE is the more wrestling-oriented product. You're not going to see matches in WWE like you will see in AEW. Full Gear, perfect example. You're never, ever, ever in your life going to see a match like that Hangman Swerve Strickland match in the WWE or any of the other matches that took place, for example. There's just a different level of pro wrestling and the acknowledgement of other companies and other wrestlers. Like a Will Ospreay, for example. Will Ospreay, like, maybe he'd be a bigger star in WWE. Of course he would be, but his style of wrestling belongs in AEW. But that has its cap audience. 700 to 100,000 to a million is its peak audience. We've seen it. AEW Dynamite rarely, if ever, gets over the hump of 1 million. 1.1, 1.2. And I gotta believe that that's somewhat of a mix between a margin of error or just very casuals that are popping in. Because AEW's consistent audience is between 700,000 and 1 million for Dynamite. Once you move to Rampage and Collision, it's lower. Rampage is laughable, between 2 and 500,000. And Collision, not much better, between like 3 and 700,000 people. Depending on, if there's a pay-per-view or whatever the fuck else is going on that night. To be fair, Saturday night's a bad night. Saturday night's alright for fun, I guess is, hopefully that doesn't get me. Can I get a copyright strike for that? Not if I sing it out of tone like that, right? Because then they won't be able to pick up on it off key. But I think the network is aware of that kind of going in. Like, I think that's why they put AEW there, because they know it's going to get somewhat of a loyal, diehard audience that will be consistently there. Because otherwise it's a crapshoot if they just run like a rerun movie or something like that. It's, maybe people watch, maybe don't. Who knows? But it's never going to appeal to a wider audience. It's wrestling, bro. No one likes wrestling. There's something to be said for that. Now, you don't go the complete opposite either, where it's all just storytelling, and WWE is much more heavy on the story side. Clearly, it's working for them. So maybe that's it. I think AEW does try to tell stories. They got the one with Hangman and Strickland. They got the one that they're trying to tell with MJF and Adam Cole. The Young Bucks, Kenny Omega. They're telling stories. I think that's an unfair criticism. It's just not the kind of stories, or maybe they're not doing as good of a job. Or maybe it's overshadowed by booking matches out of nowhere, like MJF versus Kenny Omega with no build. And then you get the peripheral people like a Vince Russo or something that go, bro, they don't even promote their matches, bro. They just throw it on. All the while not really understanding that there are stories going on in the background. You just haven't heard of why MJF is wrestling Kenny Omega, which is true. Why just throw that out there flippantly on national TV? I would think that that's a pretty significant pay-per-view buy. A lot of people criticize AEW for making a lot of the same mistakes that WCW made and that TNA has made. I think there's something to be said for that too. Ticket sales and the ratings are not good. I would have thought Edge would have made a difference for AEW, but he hasn't, it doesn't seem like. Maybe Will Ospreay will, hopefully. But I don't know if Edge can't make a difference, how much of a difference will Ospreay make? Who is, in my opinion, the greatest wrestler in the world. I don't know, man. I think Vince Russo has a point, but, it's very hard for a guy that booked the choppy the PP angle to sit and criticize another company for not telling good enough stories. It's a niche product. Wrestling is a niche product, and AEW has honed in on the wrestling fans. And that's how they are clearly separating themselves from the WWE as an alternative brand, as a challenger brand. The problem is if they don't get their shit together, they're going to, they're trying to be the Pepsi to Coke. And Coke will always be number one because they're Coke. But Pepsi's a strong number two, right? Like if Coke started slipping, they would do some kind of bad PR shit like Bud Light did or something like that. Pepsi could easily become number two or number one. But like Faggo and RC Cola and Shasta and Great Value, they're not going to become number one. AEW has the potential to fall to a level of TNA. They really, once they start getting compared to TNA, that's when they really got to check themselves. They had a very good showing for themselves in the LA Forum. But as a number two, I don't know if they're going to grow much past what they're at right now, being a strictly wrestling company. I like it, to be honest with you. I like wrestling, but I also, I like those matches, but I can see that there needs to be more to draw in the casual fan. And along with that, I think Tony Khan needs to stop hitting the coke and get the fuck off the internet for a while, because that ain't helping either. But I've ranted on this enough. Just wanted to share Vince Russo's thoughts, bro. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, bro. Let me know what you think of Tony Khan, bro. Is he a mark, bro? Tony Khan is a money mark, bro. Nobody likes wrestling. All right, I'm done. That's it, y'all. Another episode in the can. Episode 94. 94.5. It's fucking bull. I hate technology, man. There is nothing worse than recording a show and then having to re-record a show. Nothing. Because it never comes out the same again, I got the same talking points-ish, I don't even have a script. I don't even bullet point nothing. I just go off the top of my head. And sometimes you say cool shit, and then it's just, you can't nail it the way that you did before. I always hate that shit. Same with back in my rapper days. You try to redo a song. There was a couple times where we did this song and then the files lost the file, damaged something. You know what I mean? Sorry, we can re-record it. Fuck. You're never gonna nail it the way that you did. So it's a pain in the ass. But here I am sitting recording it again because the show must go on, and we are on our way to episode 100. Of which I'm thinking about maybe doing some fun stuff for episode 100. I don't know what yet, but I'm gonna, try to make it a little fun for you guys. I don't fucking know. I dropped some videos earlier this week, as you may have noticed. I'm going to attempt to try to do more of that. It's hard balancing everything, man. I do my best. But without this being my full-time gig, I just got to get it in when I can get it in, to be honest with you. Spent a lot of time doing some Halloween videos. If you haven't checked those out, please check those out. The top 10 horror movies, the tier ranking of all the horror of 31 on 31 horror franchises, and of course the top 10 pro wrestling horror gimmicks. check those videos out. I had to battle with WWE over that horror gimmick one. I think it's still pending. They threw a copyright strike on a short that I put up with Ric Flair bleeding all over the place, and they claimed it, you know. But what I do falls under fair use. You are allowed to use clips of copyrighted material for the use of critique, review, commentary, anything like that. It allows journalists to do their job. It allows, for example, things like this, like, hey, this guy said this on his show. Check out this clip of him saying these words. It's no different than quoting somebody in a written article. If you're doing a video article, per se, a video story, and you want to quote somebody, you can play the clip. It's fair use. If it's newsworthy, or you just want to rip on it and say, look at this guy, he sucks. Look at this clip of how stupid he looks. It's all fair use. But YouTube doesn't quite work that way. They will block your video first and then ask questions later. So if WWE comes through and says, hey, that's our content, they'll just block it. And then it's my job to dispute it after that. Well, WWE's petty. I don't know if you guys heard this or not. They're petty. So I disputed that. Just one little short with Ric Flair. The next day I wake up. 3 more videos were disputed by WWE and all blocked. One of them was that top 10 horror video. Horror wrestling characters. I disputed every last one of them. You motherfuckers. Fuck you. Ugh. They know what they're doing. They're just being dicks. AEW does that too. They fuck with content creators. Movie studios will do it too. Some are really, really good about it. You see, like, people do reactions to trailers and shit. I've done them in the past. Want to get back to doing them. It's just a time thing, man. I'm putting most of my focus into you guys. But those get copyright strikes too because, you're using a video footage of it. Shut the fuck up, man. It's fair use. You got to go back in. You got to debate it all. And, like, some people are really good about that. Reaction videos are a pretty big popular thing. And a lot of these promotional companies know that that's a good way. These studios know that's a good way to promote their upcoming movie. If people are reacting to the trailers and stuff or doing reviews on the movie. And then there's other people that are just like, hey, fuck you. They want to fight you on everything. So big pain in the ass there. But as of right now, once you dispute them, they put it back up for a little bit, I guess, until it's settled. But it still could come out not in my favor. But, perks of the gig that I do, I guess, right? I'm going to run into that from time to time. But that is to say, a plug for my shorts. I got a few more up last week. And I'm going to play around with a new format for them. I'm just trying new shit. Throwing shit at the wall, seeing what sticks. So we're going to try that this time around and see how that works. And I'm just going to get them up where I can. Because like I said, man, in between work, kids, girlfriend, other hobbies, like I like to paint and shit. So like fucking can't, when can I sit down and do a painting or play video games? You can't. If you're, almost all my free time goes into working on this YouTube shit. And, I appreciate you guys being patient with me, hanging out with me. And I'm having this conversation with you guys now because I know anybody listening to the end are the people that are, my most loyal listeners, I suppose, are the ones that really give a shit what I have to say. So I know that I have missed weeks here and there and that I'm not as consistent as you would like me to be. But I'm not like going away or anything. So it's not like I'm going to fall off the face of the earth. I'm just getting shit up when I can, how I can. I had a birthday over the Halloween week and, Halloween too, and just, went out of town for a little bit. And I'm trying to live my life and do this YouTube and just make it all work for you guys. But that's the goal, man. I want to get that monetization and eventually be able to just quit my job or do like a part-time job and this, and you know, if once this is able to replace my income, I'm out. I'm out of that shithole. Get out of a goddamn cubicle box and sit here in front of you guys. Do all kinds more videos, not just these, but other stuff like the top 10 pro wrestling horror gimmicks for Halloween. You know, unfortunately, there's not top 10 Thanksgiving gimmick wrestlers, so you could just probably a couple, right? Gobbledygooker, obviously. I'm sure there was probably some sort of pilgrim in there somewhere. Tatanka. Is it racist to throw Tatanka on that list? I don't fucking know anymore. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and get up out of here. Thanks for hanging out with me and listening to my second recording of this, my second round. Hit that subscribe button down below if you're on YouTube. Peace, love, and pizza. I am your boy, Seth Grimes, and this has been the Pro Wrestling Podcast. Podcast.